Are we live? What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to talk about this Golden Dome, the Golden Iron Dome. Now, Israel has had this similar technology for many, many years. And a lot of those on the left, they would complain because Israel could defend themselves. And now we're getting somewhat the same thing again. So we're going to talk about this Golden Iron Dome, which I think is pretty awesome, to be honest with you. I like the technology when it comes to that, sci-fi, if you will. But first, for everyone who's watching this live right now, please hit the thumbs up for me. If you're watching this on the replay, please hit the thumbs up. It is May 21st, 2025, and we are live right now. So, this Golden Dome, what do you think about it? And I do look in the comments, and I'm just kind of curious. What do you think about this Golden Dome? Do you think it's a good idea? Or do you think it's a bad idea? I mean, there's so much happening in the news, but I thought it was pretty important to talk about this. And as I mentioned just a second ago, Israel has had similar technology for many years. And I remember one time, the United Nations, you had the Palestinians, they went to the United Nations. Now, even up to today, even right now, as of today, the United Nations does not recognize Palestine as a state. They do not recognize them as a state as of today, even today. But my question is, or what I've noticed, that with Palestine or the Palestinian people and other Arab nations, they went to the United Nations and they said that Israel should have to share their Iron Dome technology. And Israel said, why would we do that? I mean, this is how we're being able to defend ourselves from you trying to destroy us. And they were upset. And the United Nations was trying to apply pressure to Israel for them to share that technology. They were saying, no, you should have to share the technology. And they were saying, no, we're not going to share the technology. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. And I was like, this is crazy that they would even ask or try to force them to share the technology. Because see, if they were to share the technology with them, then they would find loopholes. That's the only reason why they would do it. They would find ways to get around the Iron Dome to try to destroy Israel. That's the only reason why they would do that. Well, thank goodness they didn't do it. Well, now, fast forward to 2025, President Trump, he's doing his Iron Dome for the United States of America. And just like Palestinians and other Arab nations upset with Israel, we have nations upset with President Trump for doing this. Other nations that are not even part of the United States of America upset with us. Why would they be upset? Who am I talking about? Russia and China. They are both upset that President Trump is making a move to create an Iron Dome over the United States of America. And even Canada wants to get in on it. Canada says, yeah, hey, include us. We want to be in this Iron Dome as well. So why would China and Russia be upset? They say that's going to hinder them or it's going to cause more problems. What kind of problems? This is all for defense. We're going to be able to defend ourselves from anything that they're throwing at us. Well, here's President Trump. Here's a short clip about this with President Trump getting ready to do this executive order for the Iron Dome.
Donald Trump has just announced the Golden Dome project, the American counterpart to Israel's Iron Dome, but with a much bigger scope. Through next-generation technologies, the dome can protect the U.S. from land, sea, and even space. The initial budget is estimated to go up to $25 billion US, but the total cost could reach $125 billion US. There are many things that could be said about Trump's presidential style, but there is no arguing about his ambition. What do you think? What would a Golden Dome defense system look like?
Yes. What would it look like? What would a Golden Dome defense system look like? And President Trump has mentioned, he says, the money that we've already brought into the country because of the tariffs that he's applied will pay for it. He says it's already going to pay for it. I'm for President Trump doing whatever he needs to do to defend and protect the country. I'm for it. And I'm just kind of curious. Are you against President Trump doing this? Now, the radical liberals, they are. They hate America with a passion. they're willing to fight for they're willing to fight for terrorists and even domestic terrorists, Antifa, BLM. They're willing to fight for everyone who hates this country, and they're not willing to fight for the country. I have another one I want to share with you, of course, with President Trump. And this one, Pete Hegseth, and the audio is a little shy on this one. If I that's the way best way I can describe it. It's kind of a little hard to hear. So I tried to bring the audio up, but Pete Hegseth is talking to President Trump about this golden Iron Dome, and you can see an image of it in the background, how they're depicting this. And apparently there's a general there from Space Force as well.
Mr. President, add this to the long and growing list of promises made and promises kept. Ultimately, this right here, the Golden Dome for America, is a game changer. It's a generational investment in the security of America and Americans. Mr. President, you said we're to secure our southern border and get 100% operational control after the previous administration allowed an invasion of people into our country. President Reagan 40 years ago cast the vision for it. The technology wasn't there. Now it is, and you're following through to say we will protect the homeland from cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, drones, whether they're conventional or nuclear. And it's not lost on me, sir, also that you had the vision to start the Space Force. And here we are when others said we didn't need it, here we are in the Oval Office with one of the leaders of the Space Force in General Gutlein, leading the charge on putting in place a game-changing Golden Dome for America. So, sir, it's an honor to be a part of this bold initiative. We're going to get to work on it. We have been since you signed that executive order on January 27th. We've been fast forward on this, but we're here on this day, and this is just one stop in delivering this defense of the homeland, which is something you've charged us with doing, and we'll keep going until it is complete, sir.
Thank you, Pete. Pete's doing a great job, by the way. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So I hope the audio on that came through. I really tried to work on it and bring an audio up on that. And there is a statement from President Trump about this Iron Dome. But again, I'm looking in the comments. I'm just kind of curious. If you're watching right now, please hit the thumbs up for me. I would greatly appreciate it. And you let me know in the comments. Do you like the idea of this Iron Dome? Do you like the idea of it? I love it, to be honest with you. President Trump, he's already made it clear. He's going to do everything he can to defend and protect the United States of America. And it's the radical left that is against President Trump from defending and protecting the American people. I mean, they're open about it. They hate America. And I think if you show your disdain for the United States of America and you're a political figure, you're in politics, I think you should be able to lose your seat when you show how much hate you have for America. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, they should lose their seats simply because of their hatred for the United States of America. And all these other radical Democrats going to these ICE facilities, going outside the country, fighting for terrorists, fighting for non-American citizens. As soon as you start doing that, me personally, I wish the founding fathers would have had that in there, but they had no idea that people that are supposed to be Americans, that were elected by Americans, would advocate and fight for non-American citizens. I don't think they ever thought that.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I really like this missile defense system. I was actually excited when Trump announced it. I get excited every time, and it's not really a good thing, but when Israel, in the middle of all those enemies, has been able to really defend themselves, really because of the Iron Dome.
Yes,
it's been tremendous. It's been a tremendous tool for them right now. A
defensive tool.
Right. And right now, Trump said that the U.S. Space Force general is the one that's going to head this up. And did you know, Will, right now we have no missile defense here in the United States of America?
Yeah, I've heard that.
The biggest thing that we've been protected by is our location. We're so far away from, places, of course, short range missiles hit Israel all the time, but those short range missiles can't really hit America unless it's coming, of course, from, Mexico or Canada, which are allies of ours. But China and other people, bad actors, are trying to change that. China's trying to make Greenland a a place for them. The Panama Canal. I mean, they've been strategically finding ways to get closer to America to if something happens, they can hit us. Trump knows this. And so Trump's saying, listen, we have to have some way to defend ourselves because the enemy is coming to us.
Yeah.
It's coming here.
Yeah.
Right? Biden left our borders open. So we have no idea what can happen here in America. So
Yeah.
we need some kind of
need some protection.
Right. And
we need some protection.
Yeah. So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. Filter Dog on Peel.net says, I like the Golden Dome. Where did you get the Iron Dome from? It's actually the Iron Dome, but President Trump is calling it the Golden Dome. Right? I mean, it's fitting. I like it. President Trump is calling it the Golden Dome. But it's the same. It's the same concept of the Iron Dome that they have in Israel. That's where I got it from. But yeah, Shannon, didn't you? So you said you had an article, Shannon, where China and Russia are not happy with or pleased with President Trump doing this Golden Dome over the United States of America. Correct?
Here, let me.
Right.
Yeah.
So why? And again, I don't understand why they would be upset when this Golden Dome over the United States of America, and more likely going to be Canada as well. Why would they be upset when this has nothing to do with China, has nothing to do with Russia? This is not for offensive means. This is for defensive, to be able to protect us here in America.
Well, I mean, that's absolutely true. And there are several articles coming out about this. Of course, one is on The Hill. It says China is gravely concerned by the Trump Golden Dome plan. And you ask why? That's a good question. So the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said Wednesday that the defense system, which Trump said would take about $175 billion to build, will exacerbate the risk of turning outer space into a battlefield, therefore starting an arms race and shake up the international security and arms control system. They said the U.S., by putting itself first, America first, good job, Trump, and being obsessed with pursuing absolute security, violates the principle, diminish the security for all, undermines the global strategic balance and stability. So they're saying you shouldn't be able to protect yourself from everybody. Basically, China is gravely concerned about this. He continued, we urge the U.S. to give up developing and deploying the global anti-missile system at an early date and take concrete actions to enhance strategic mutual trust between countries and safeguards global strategic stability.
And again, I don't know why they would be upset with it, other than they have plans to want to be able to eliminate the United States of America at some point in the future.
Absolutely, they have plans.
I mean, that's the only thing. That's the only reason why they would get upset.
I mean, that's one reason.
You're going to prevent us from having, the opportunity of wiping you out, and now you're going to create this. This is not good. This is not good.
Yeah, and it's technology that they don't have and that we do have, because we helped create the technology for Israel. So they're like, wait a minute, this is technology we don't have. Therefore, it's not fair. Listen.
So now they're going to go to the United Nations as well and complain to the UN and say, hey, the United States of America, they need to be able to offer this technology to us. They need to share it with us. No.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know what is interesting? I don't see China really getting involved with Iran not getting a nuclear capabilities. Yesterday, once again, talks fell through with Iran. Iran turned down Trump's request or plan to denuclearize Iran, and they didn't come up with a counterplan. They're just like, no, we're not doing it. So how are we supposed to, if we have the technology and the capability, why would we not do it? And the only reason why is because our enemies are saying you have an unfair advantage against us, and so you can't have it. Well, to be honest with you, there's a lot of countries that have an unfair advantage, and they don't want to share it with us. I mean, obviously, there's other countries that have nuclear power, but we're not letting Iran have nuclear power. Now, of course, it's because they are a very volatile country. But, I mean, China's whole thing, Russia too, is they want to be the powerhouse, and they want to stop America from being the powerhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's President Trump talking about the Golden Dome.
Country. In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they're launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs, and it was very successful. And now we have technology that's even far advanced from that, but including hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles. All of them will be knocked out of the air. We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland, and the success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it. You're shooting bullets out of the air. I'm also pleased to report that the One Big Beautiful Bill will include $25 billion for the Golden Dome to help construction get underway. That's the initial sort of a down deposit. And we have probably, you're talking about, General, we're talking about $175 billion total cost of this when it's completed. This afternoon, I'm also announcing that I will appoint, very importantly, General Gutlein to lead the ambitious new effort.
That's pretty awesome. Why, one of the things that got me is that when looking at all of this, that after every president before President Trump, he's the one actually doing all of this. Now, Pete Hegseth, he brought up the fact how Ronald Reagan, he talked about the space program, putting satellites in space to have rockets on them, et cetera, et cetera. And President Trump is the only one who's actually moving forward with actually doing anything, making this come to fruition, making it for real. President Trump is the one actually doing it. And of course, none of the radical Democrats, they don't like this at all, because President Trump is defending and protecting the American people. They can't stand it. It's like, how dare he want to defend and protect America? How dare he want to do such a thing? Well, here's something I want to play with for you. And this goes into great detail about this Golden Dome that President Trump is wanting to put over the United States of America. And one thing that came to mind is that President Trump said that this is going to take place before his term is up, that the midterms, if the Democrats are successful on working on some kind of way on removing President Trump in the midterms, after the midterms, because if the Democrats do their thing and they get in there, they're going to try to put a screeching halt on everything that President Trump does, because the first thing, their only order of business will be to try to impeach President Trump. So I've told people multiple times, we have to do our part. This is the most important. This last election was the most important presidential election in American history. This midterm election is going to be the most important midterm election in American history. And typically what happens during a midterm, it kind of, flips over. We don't need it to flip over to the radical left. We need to stay away from them as much as possible. We need to prevent them from having control over anything.
Let's be joined right now by Blaise Mistal, covering national security policy for GINSA. Blaise, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. They're calling this the Golden Dome, similar to the Iron Dome that we see over in Israel. Can you take us through some of the facets of what make the Iron Dome successful and what the United States hopes to replicate with this?
Yeah, great to be with you, Andy. Obviously, I think the success of Iron Dome as Israel's air defense, as it for the last year and a half was barraged by thousands of rockets and missiles from all around the Middle East, is part of the inspiration for President Trump's vision of a Golden Dome. But the two systems that are being discussed are actually quite different. In Israel, Iron Dome is meant to shoot down short-range rockets and now increasingly drones. So things that fly a pretty short distance, we're talking 5 to 30 miles maybe, and at a fairly low altitude. So these are the crude short-range rockets that were fired by Hamas from Gaza or coming in from Hezbollah and Lebanon, as well as some of the smaller drones that were being fired. The Golden Dome that President Trump is talking about is a much bigger undertaking aimed at defending the United States against the long-range ballistic missiles that would be shot by sophisticated adversaries like Russia, China, North Korea, or increasingly Iran. And specifically what he's interested in trying to stop is not sort of the older design of intercontinental ballistic missiles that go up past the atmosphere into space and then come back down, but a new class of what are called hypersonics, which might fly a sort of a flatter trajectory at a lower altitude, but move more quickly, be more maneuverable, and therefore are harder to hit. And it's really those high-level threats that he seems to be interested in defending against. But here the Israeli experience is actually useful. There's Iron Dome, but they also have a range of other air defense systems that cover everything from that short-range rocket to the ballistic missiles, like we saw recently when Iran attacked Israel. All those systems, it's important to note, were co-developed and helped funded by the United States. So that's technology that we've paid for, we've invested in, we helped make successful and effective. And hopefully that's technology that President Trump leverages using that Israeli expertise and brings it into the Golden Dome system.
Yeah, that is a good understanding of what's going on with this. And obviously we note the similarities and the differences. The price tag on this Golden Dome to be roughly about $500 billion over several decades to implement it fully. I do want to ask you about how the Iron Dome, and we mentioned just the differences, the contrast between them, but the Iron Dome sensors, satellites, and missile batteries. Is it the same concept? And can you walk us through how they detected and then how they would shoot down some potential missiles heading for Israel and for the Golden Dome in the United States?
Yeah, so obviously detection here is key, particularly with the types of projectiles that we're talking about. Iron Dome shooting down those short-range rockets. They can reach Israel in a matter of minutes, if not seconds. And so having well-placed radars that can tell you that a missile has been fired, or rocket has been fired, where it's coming from and where it's going is really critical. And I think that's one of the main contributions that Israel has made here, is being able to quickly find these pretty small rockets, figure out where they're going, and then plot an intercept course for them. And even better than that, the Israeli system is able to determine where that rocket is likely to land. And if it's going to land somewhere where it's not going to do any damage in an open field, perhaps, it decides not to shoot that rocket down. It's going to save its ammo. It's not going to expend what can be pretty expensive interceptors on shooting down something that doesn't pose a threat. So that is very valuable technology and implementation that I think the U.S. should look at. Particularly because the threat to the U.S. right now is not just those ballistic missiles that President Trump has talked about. We also have drones flying into our country across the border from Mexico. There's hundreds of unidentified drones flying around our military bases on every year. Having this sort of technology to help protect our border, our critical infrastructure, our military facilities should be part of how we think about keeping our airspace safe from our adversaries.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's also good that you noted the fact that there were thousands of those missiles launched by Hamas at Israel that the Iron Dome has been able to take out. And if you can save some of those missiles, some of those interceptors, like you mentioned, it is a good case scenario. I do want to ask you, because Israel and the United States are very different in terms of size as well. How big of a challenge will that be? Because Israel, not small, comparable to states like New Jersey. How is the size challenge covering the entirety of the United States? Because there's also Alaska, Hawaii included. How difficult would that be?
It is certainly a challenge. It is more of a challenge in some ways for the short range rockets that the Iron Dome system deals with, that Israel has to deal with coming from the south or the north, from Gaza or Lebanon. And in fact, even Israel, that has been building the system out, trying to protect itself for over a decade now, almost 2 decades with the Iron Dome system, still doesn't have enough radars and batteries to cover the entirety of its territory. It has to make decisions where to deploy these based on where it thinks the threat is. If you're talking about a bigger system that tries to target ballistic missiles, ones that are coming from much further away from the United States, in some ways you have more time and more ability to target those from a further away range. So you don't need as many batteries as closely packed together as for the short range stuff. But what you do need is you need a much bigger detection network. If we're talking about knowing whether Russia is shooting at us, or China or North Korea or Iran, we need satellites and radars that are going to cover most of the globe to be able to detect those launches as quickly as possible. So you might not need as many batteries shooting at these missiles, but you do need a lot more in terms of satellites, radars, and other detection abilities.
Yeah, the detection is the key in terms of this Golden Dome for the United States. I do want to ask you, because we talk about the Golden Dome, we talk about the Iron Dome. The United States already has a system somewhat in place, correct, to protect them. There are some 44 missile interceptors already in the United States, correct? Can you glean some information from that this isn't something that we don't have before, it's just an enhancement or a new system that is similar to the one we already have?
Yeah, so from what we've heard so far from the Department of Defense, the way they're thinking about this is a system of systems. So how do we build on the technology that we, the United States, already have? We have ground-based interceptors in Alaska and Hawaii, California, that are already there to try to defend against ballistic missiles.
All right, everyone. So President Trump is live. He's live talking with the president of South Africa. I would like to go to that now. Are we ready to go to that?
To Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up. Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, Brian? Thank you very much. I'd like to get your thoughts on Letitia James. Director Polte, according to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. I want to get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false attacks they had on you.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know that it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud. mortgage documents and fraudulent everything. You know, I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, or so she chose her father, and she put it down. And she had didn't she sign in Virginia? Yet she said she lived in Virginia. Yet she's the New York State Attorney General, and she did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it. But I appreciate the question.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. President, what's the narrative for you to be convinced that there's no genocide?
Thank you, Mr. President. So May 25th will be the celebration of Africa Day, which pretty much a lot of celebration will be taking place around the world, including here in the United States. What is your message to the entire African continent, African people in this important occasion?
Well, I want to see peace, and I want to see happiness. I want to see health, and you have incredible land. There's tremendous value. A lot of countries don't have that value in the land. The value you have. We have a situation. I think you probably heard about it. We've done through some very talented people, helped settle a war that's been raging for years, Rwanda and the Congo. And I think we've done it. Believe it or not, I think we've done it. And could you just say a few words about that, my friend?
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, the two parties signed a declaration of principles in which they've agreed on the way forward. And they have both submitted their draft peace agreements, and we have put together one that incorporates both of their suggestions, and we've given it to them. So we're in the process of finalizing this peace agreement. Right? Looking very good.
We have to thank you for even those efforts, because the African continent, particularly SADC, our Southern African Development Community, has for years been seeking to foster peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So all efforts, including those from outside the continent and inside the continent, are really worthwhile. We are removing our troops from there so that peace can then prevail in that whole area. And we hope that with the support of the international community, we will really have peace in that area. It's so vital, it's so important for the whole region.
Well, we sent our people there, and I think we did a very good job, as headed by my friend, and that was great. That was great. I mean, I'm just hearing phenomenal reports, because all I'm hearing is death, and they're chopping heads off, and it's horrible over there. And it was really brave of you to go there, and I really appreciate it. And it looks like we have something very, very substantial. We also talked about trade with them in terms of rare earth and all, but really more for it's like if you take a look at what we just did with Pakistan and India, we settled that whole thing, and I think I settled it through trade. We're doing a big deal with India. We're doing a big deal with Pakistan, and I said, "What are you guys doing?" Somebody had to be the last one to shoot. But the shooting was getting worse and worse, bigger and bigger, deeper and deeper into the countries. And we spoke to them, and I hate to say we got it settled, and then 2 days later, something happens, and they say it's Trump's fault. But Pakistan has got some excellent people and a great leader. And India is my friend, Modi. And he's a
mutual friend.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I called them both, and we just did something good. We're trying to settle Russia, Ukraine. We spoke with President Putin for 2.5 hours the day before yesterday. I think we made a lot of progress, but that's a bloodbath. 5,000 people are being killed a week, 5,000 soldiers a week, not including people in cities and towns that are also being killed. So we're trying to help. And it doesn't affect us. It's not our people. It's not our soldiers. It's Ukraine and it's Russia, but if we can save 5,000 souls, we'll do it. We're pretty good at it. But that's a bad situation. That is a really bad situation.
Well, you'd recall when President Zelensky was coming to South Africa, that's when I spoke to you.
That's right.
We both agreed that We need to push the peace message so that there can really be peace. And we've been involved in the Ukraine-Russia conflict for quite a while through my Minister of State Security here. We've been dealing with them, the exchange of children who were taken away, going through names and addresses and all that. So we've been invested in that whole process as well. And the moves that you're making are fully supported by us because we would like to see the end of that war.
True. I called Zelensky and they said, he's in South Africa. I said, what the hell is he doing in South Africa?
He was talking to
and
us.
We got to speak. I said, that's a strange one. I said, what are you doing in South Africa?
Yes.
That's a strange one.
He's trying to make peace. We're taking him. You know, we were lucky because we had the great Nelson Mandela who taught us how to create peace, to make peace. So we were imparting some of those lessons to him, some of those learnings. And I specifically mentioned to him that this is how Nelson Mandela taught us that when you want to have a peace in a country, do it on an unconditional basis and sit down and talk. And that's precisely what I'm sure he's going to heed.
Well, we're going to see what happens with that one. It's there's a lot of hatred.
Yeah.
There's a lot of death. It's a bloodbath.
It is.
I get the
unfortunately.
I get the satellite pictures of that field, of that killing field. Mm-hmm. You never saw anything like it in your life. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing that goes on, but I think we've made big progress. Yeah, please go ahead. No, not you. Right here. He's from South Africa. Go ahead, please.
What are you expecting on the ICJ case? Are you expecting South Africa to drop that? Is that what you're trying to raise?
On which case?
The ICJ case against Israel,
International
Criminal Court.
I don't expect anything, to be honest. I really don't. I don't know. It's they've got a case. There's a lot of anger there, tremendous anger. I don't expect anything. We'll see what happens. We'll have a ruling, and who knows what the ruling is going to mean. Yeah.
On that subject of Gaza, Mr. President, are you going to be speaking to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Israel's renewed offensive there? There's been a lot of concern from European countries. The Pope has expressed concern. Are you going to be asking Prime Minister Netanyahu to tone down the offensive in Gaza to let more aid in?
Was that a question or a statement?
It's a question.
This guy's, you never change.
Mr. President, decide what
Please.
will it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for the president. It's for him.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer that. It will be.
My president will respond to you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. President.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it will take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But, Mr. President, I must say that we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it. Sure. And we have documentaries, we have news stories. And that. Is Natalie here, somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things. And it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would. And turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yes. South Africa, occupy land. That's who we are. Honorable member, can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament. Yes, honorable member. Must never be scared to kill. revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary
Trump
act.
is a man.
Shoot to kill. Yamasa.
Look at that.
Kill the poor, the farmer.
Trump had it queued up. He knew it was going to happen. He had to have known that President Trump was going to play this or bring it up.
DALPE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness. Shoot to kill. Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
Wow.
Shoot to kill. Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
Wow. And I don't know if you can see it, but the president of South Africa, he's not even looking at it. He's looking away.
You'd understand somebody watching that, especially.
I know it's dark in the room.
But they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal.
I like how Trump said that he needs to answer for all the thousands of articles and stuff that are coming out.
Yeah, I mean, here's the video. Here's the proof of it. And President Trump is playing all of it. Oh my goodness. I love Trump. I mean, I really do. No other president would have done this. They would have just been politically correct and just allow it to take place. But President Trump is saying, oh, no, you're not going to do this. You're not going to come sit in the Oval Office with me and straight up and lie.
Yeah, to the media of all. Because, a lot of
you're
it
gonna
Trump
straight up
calls
and lie.
fake news.
And just imagine all of the fake news liberal media there.
These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Both sides of the road, you have crosses. Those people were all killed.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is.
It's your country. How do you not know?
I don't. Okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa.
It's in South Africa. He had to have known about this.
Yeah, Trump's still looking at it. Like the president of Africa is trying to look away, but Trump's like, no, we're going to keep watching this.
Yeah. Trump is playing all of it.
I don't know. No. Okay.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One. Perhaps
What are you talking about?
I'd like to
Can we have a South Africa question, please? Mr. President,
The Pentagon's spokesperson.
What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. we're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back. You ought to go back to your studio at NBC because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from me. Go ahead. Go ahead, talk about that.
Please, may we have a South African
His name is
question,
Peter
Mr. President
something. He's
Trump?
a terrible
If they're
reporter.
committing genocide, why invite them to the White House? I'll be quiet.
Quiet.
Sure, that's my question now.
Let's go.
Thank you so much, President Trump. Annika Larson from ENCA in South Africa. Thank you very much for hosting us. What would you like President Ramaphosa to do about the situation that we've just seen on the screen?
I don't know. Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. Horrible death. Death. I don't know.
But you know that there are
Pick
black
anyone.
people who are
White
dying
South
the most.
Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all. I mean, I'll give these to you. So when you say what would I like to do, I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say that they were attacked violently.
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is?
Well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried.
President Trump.
And he asks about a jet that was given.
My first question
You
is
ought to
about
be
Africa.
ashamed.
We're not interested in the
You know, you are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
If they're committing genocide, why invite them? Sir, if they are committing genocide, why invite the South Africans to the White House?
May I finish, please, President Trump? Mr. President
This
Trump,
is
may I
one
finish?
after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking.
Can we get a
President
response from President
Ramaphosa, can you give us your
Ramaphosa?
reaction to those videos, Mr. President?
President Trump, could you?
Well, I
could
think
you
it's.
address
I think
that
the
black people
videos are
dying
so.
more than white
No. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what it is. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it. But this is a tremendous look. This is story recent. These are all people that recently got killed. And I don't know how it can get any worse. These are
President Trump,
and you know the men that you saw, the people that you saw in that movie, those are officials. Those are people that were in office. They had one march. They had a dance in your parliament, whatever you may call it, legislature.
But let
and
me
it was
clarify
terrible.
that.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves,
Here come the excuses.
political parties to adhere to various policies. And in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're
But
a
it's
small
happening is the
minority
problem.
party,
It's
which
happening.
is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
And then
take
when
land.
they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
nothing happens.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people, and we have now.
The
been
farmers aren't
utilized-
black. The farmers are not black.
We
I don't
now-
say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they tell me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed. Their heads chopped off. They died violently, and I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here. But I will say this: that if the news wasn't fake, like NBC, which is fake news, totally one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that.
I love it.
They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this, why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay, the United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out because we need an Air Force One until that's Air Force One is being built, 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are
and
problems.
this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
Those are all recent. Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns. And these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, the criminality that we are experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that because there is support that we can get from you as the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about. And we are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges. So I'd like us to discuss it, and of course outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
Are there any other further punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things, in inverted commas, that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed and their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing
you're
so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
from them. And those people, in many cases, are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, And in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die in South Africa. And it's a bad thing. Yeah.
What can South Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa afterwards.
Well, we just spoke about, I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. And I was asked by the president if he could help. And I did that. And, I have great feeling for all countries. I deal with all countries. But I have a great feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today. But I have many friends from South Africa. But many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted. He actually came here on a different subject, sending rockets to Mars, okay? Yes. He likes that better. He likes that subject better. That's right. But Elon is from South Africa, and I don't want to talk to him about that. I don't think it's fair to him. That's right. But I will say that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated, and in many cases, they're being killed. And that scene of, you see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, a correct and a fair media exposes things. But we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa. And it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon. Yes, please.
I was going to say, Brian, if I could just ask you a question. 72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the economy could collapse? You may not have a gap to fill in those people that need to replace those farmers.
I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Yeah. And Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. I would say we have a real safety problem, and I don't think anyone wants to candy coat that. And it requires a lot of effort to get on top of it. It's going to require more policing resources. It's going to require a different strategy to be able to deal with it. But certainly the majority of South Africa's commercial and smallholder farmers really do want to stay in South Africa and make it work. And I've just come from the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere with organized agriculture and farmers, and the majority of them want to stay. But they too there have a memorial to those who've died as a result of farm attacks. And as the Minister of Agriculture, it is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police and my colleagues in the justice cluster to stop making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Mkhonto weSizwe under Mr. Zuma and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now, the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government. Because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our Parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union buildings, because then South Africa's future will be.
So you denounced that type of language in the video that you saw?
Oh yes, we've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
We discussed USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent.
Yeah, well, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. And I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot, and it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on. The United States always gets the request for money. Nobody else helps, as you know. Europe doesn't help. Europe hasn't given anything. All they do is sue our companies. You know, they sue Apple, and they sue all of our companies. Apple had to pay $17 billion on a nonsense lawsuit. Very unfair. But we're going to always be there to help.
It's showing rightly South African broadcasting. If this Afrikaner resettlement issue is resolved, we're going to go into a room after this. You guys are going to talk. If it is resolved, what is the potential for the future-looking relationship?
It's fantastic. It's got to be resolved. It should be resolved. It's a little bit bad when you see a stadium with 100,000 people in it, because that means it's more than just a little movement. It's a pretty big movement in South Africa. So it has to be resolved. It'll be the end of the country if it's not resolved.
But is there potential for the relationship moving forward?
I hope so. That's why I'm here. I mean, I'm not here for my health. I'm here to see if we can do something. No, I'd like to see. I have friends. I can tell you, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, they feel so strongly they wanted to be here on behalf of South Africa, not on behalf of me. And, you know, they said, can we be here for this? Because they love the country. Ernie, do you guys want to say a couple of words or anything? I hate to put you in this. This is tougher than sinking a 3-footer. Which they have, and they've sank many 3-footers.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thanks for the honor of being here. We've known each other a long time. We have spoken. You know, we're proud South Africans. I still have my South African passport. You know, we travel with this passport, you know, and I got my visa here. So, you know, but we want to see things get better in our home country. That's the bottom line. it's been 35 years since the transition. President Ramaphosa was right in the middle of the transition time, in 1990, and before that. So it's been 35 years of ANC government. And I know there's a lot of anger, through the transition. There was also a lot of stuff happening in the apartheid days. We grew up in the apartheid era. But I don't think two wrongs makes a right. President Mandela, when he came out of prison for all that time, didn't come out with hatred, and really unified our nation through sport. We won the Rugby World Cup in '95.
4 times.
We won the African Nations Cup, soccer. We won some majors as golfers and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is, this has been a long time coming. That's why we really wanted to meet you, meet the administration, and see our way forward, because we still want to see our country flourish. We've got some great things going on. Business is getting involved with government. Farmers are getting involved in local municipalities, trying to rebuild some of the infrastructure that's been decaying for a long time. So there's a lot of coexistence going on and help from a lot of areas. But I feel we need the US to push this thing through. We've got a great ally if we can have the US. It's always been an ally of South Africa for a very long time. Even in the days of the war, up in Angola, you guys helped us. So very important for us to have your support and get the change we need.
Well, did you do that well? He might have done that even better than he plays golf, which is almost impossible. Johan, please.
Mr. President, if you had to wind all of those tapes properly, you will see I'm the biggest target of that rabble-rouser. Number one for over 10 years, Mr. Malema. In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman. And look how he's changed.
Right.
We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers. It's across the board. And we need technological help. We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones. I actually got drones donated for the peace parks to stop elephant and rhino poaching. And his predecessor stopped the importation because he said the United States would spy on us. I mean, US basics, the ridicule. So if you can help us. Remember, sir, you and I lived in New York in the 70s. We never thought New York could be what it became. 2 commissioners, a tough mayor. We need your help to stop this awful killing. But it's across the board. Ernie is right now building a house in George. I'm building 3 cottages for my grandchildren on a farm outside Graaff-Reinet. I often go to bed without locking the door. And we have a serious problem with illegal aliens who stream across the border. And if you really look at our statistics, a lot of these murders, firstly, it's unemployment and illegal aliens. And then I met Vice President Vance many years ago at the Charlie Rose show. My wife loved his book. And she reminded me this morning that you emphasized the devastation that occurs when big companies leave towns and cities, and there's a culture of dependency that develops. I remember you discussing it. Now that's our problem. If we don't get our economy to grow, the culture of dependency and the lawlessness will increase. I've again been against apartheid all my life, and I'm their number one target. Please just Google my name and Malema. You'll see it, sir.
Yeah.
He marched on the
But the
farm.
crime is bad.
The crime is terrible, sir, but Mr. Steenhuisen won't admit to it, but he runs the Western Cape, where I live. And the biggest murder rate is in the Cape Flats. Gangs. We've got gang warfare. Like your M33 or whatever, these guys. We've got the equivalents there, but we need your help, sir. And we need Elon technology.
Well, one of the real areas of support is really in investments. We've got to grow our economy, because through growing the economy, we're then able to create more jobs. Because crime really thrives where there is inequality and unemployment. And that is one of the reasons that has brought us here, to improve our investment relations, our trade relations, so that we can preserve the number of jobs that your companies have created in South Africa. By virtue of what we export to you, we are able to create up to 500,000 jobs in the auto industry, in the agricultural industry, and a number of other industries, mining, where we export things to you. And we also know that as South African companies invest here, you are also able to create jobs. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So our main real reason for being here is to foster trade and investment, so that we are able to grow our economy with your support, and so that we are also able to address all these societal problems, because criminality thrives when people are unemployed, when they have no other hope to eke out a living. So that is what we need to resolve. And your support, your partnership with us is what is really going to give us a strong capability to move forward.
Excuse me, do you have anything to say? I mean, I don't want to leave you out. You know, the guy won 3 or 4 majors. 3 or 4?
No, only 2.
2. That's a lot. By the way, 2's a lot. A lot of tournaments you won too. You have anything to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. President Ramaphosa. I grew up in an area in South Africa that is a farmland area, Polokwane.
Yeah.
And there is some issues up there. Obviously, my dad was a property developer as well as a part-time farmer. And yeah, some of these buddy farmers got killed. The farm is still going. My brothers run it. But it's a constant battle with farms they're trying to burn the farms down to chase you away. So it is a concern to try and make a living as a farmer. And at the end of the day, without farmers, there's no food on the plate. So we need the farmers
And
to
your brother
produce
loves
the food.
farming, right? He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't even want to do what you're doing, right? They love farming. They don't want to leave. But it's a struggle.
Yeah, and food and fresh water is the most important thing in life. Without those 2 things, we can't survive.
How is the water there?
The water is great. Obviously, all the water comes out of the borehole, out of ground for us down there. But yeah, it is a battle to get the water out sometimes when all the equipment gets stolen all the time that you're trying to get the
So
water
does
out.
your family and your brother, do they feel safe on the farm?
They live behind electric fences, try and be at night safe. But it is constant whenever you leave that something could happen. And
There's nowhere to live.
both of them has been attacked in their houses. My mom's been attacked in her house when she was 80. So it is difficult. But the guys live a great life despite everything going on.
Something.
President Trump, I brought along the president of the largest trade union in our country, Ziggy Solosi, because she leads many workers, more than 1 million, 2 million workers, And maybe we should give her a chance to say something because she's come all the way to join us.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Trump,
Thank you.
for having us, and President for extending the invitation to us as organized labor. And I must say that we are here to support the initiative that has been made by our government with business, of course, as organized labor. We've been coming to Washington on the AGOA trade relations in the previous regime. And I think at the center of it all, for me, it is exactly what Mr. Rupert has said, the importance of us growing the economy. We have always emphasized when we were here and kept on coming and negotiating on AGOA that the 600 US companies that are based in South Africa, as you said, President Ramaphosa, 500,000 jobs will be wiped out. We need more foreign direct investment in our country. We are not just talking about those that will lose employment, but we are talking about over 40% of people that are unemployed, that have no hope of ever finding a job. And we think that, correctly, as they have said, that we need to deal with the issue of porous borders in our country so that everyone that comes in is documented. We also need to, and I would have thought that the minister would address the issue of land expropriation and how the policy works in South Africa. Recently, President, as you were preparing to come here on the news, in, I think it was in Natal, there was a handover of farms, and white farmers were saying, we are donating the land, but also there's a willing buyer, willing seller in South Africa. So there is no expropriation without compensation, but it is a willing buyer, willing seller. And that white farmer was even saying, President, that the government is even paying more in buying the land than what the land is worth of. And I think those are the realities, President, that we must say that we need to address, of course, but also the importance of agriculture linked to AGOA. People rely on it, and I think, as Retief have said, for survival and living. But lastly, for me, President, is also the issue of the crime statistics. There is no doubt about it that we are a violent nation, for a number of reasons, and we're not condoning anything. But also, if you go into the rural areas where Black majority are, you would see women, elderly, being raped, being killed, being murdered. And these are Black elderly women that would be found throat slits, raped multiple times, and all of that. And the problem in South Africa, it is not necessarily about race, but it is about crime. And we think that we are here to say, how do we, both nations, work together to reset, to really talk about investment, but also help us in how we can have the technology and everything that is needed, President, to really address the levels of crime that we have in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
President Trump, genocide is a very strong word. I'm wondering if you've made up your mind as to whether you believe genocide is occurring in South Africa, or you still have doubts. And if you have made up your mind, why invite President Ramaphosa here today for this conversation?
Well, I haven't made up my mind. I hate to see it from the standpoint of South Africa, but also, I'm trying to save lives. I'm working with Russia and Ukraine. I don't have to do that. It's not our war. It was started by other people. It was helped along by our past administration, and it would have never happened if I were president. But I'm trying to save lives, no matter where. Rwanda, I have nothing to do with Rwanda and the Congo, but I felt I had a very talented person in this administration, and I sent him there, and he did an unbelievable job, I think. We're going to find out, but he's done the hardest part of the job. It should happen. If I can save lives, I want to save the lives. If it's in Africa, that's great. If it's in Europe, if it's wherever it may be. And it's a very small investment to do, believe me, compared to what the consequences are. So I hope we can do something. Look, I have so many friends. These two men, I have great admiration for them because I know what they do for a living. And that's a very hard living. going from city to city, from country to country, and hitting a ball 350 yards like they do, and
Better than you and I.
getting the ball in the hole. It's a very tough with lots of people watching, right?
Yes,
It's a very tough living. They're champions. I respect champions, and I respect very much. And I think the country is very lucky. They really wanted to be here.
That's true.
They could be elsewhere. They could be on a beautiful fairway someplace, and they wanted to be here. So,
my name is Yanda Mobo from Newsroom Africa in South Africa. How important is it for the United States to be at our G20 summit in November, given the relationship between our two countries? You've just heard what has been said to you just now. Are you coming, and are you preparing to come?
So without the United States, the G20, just like the G7, used to be the G8, but brilliantly they threw Russia out. Would have been a lot better if Russia was in. A lot of people would say, oh, that's not it. Because if Russia was in, you probably wouldn't have this war. And if you had a different president, you wouldn't have the war either. But we have a G7. It's important that the United States is at both of them. I think without the United States, I really believe it's not very important. It's not the same meaning.
As I said to President Trump, the U.S. really originated the G20. And it's important that the United States continues to play a key role in the G20. And we are privileged to be the president of the G20, but we are even overjoyed that we are going to hand over to the United States, who are the originators. And for that reason, I expect the United States to continue playing the leadership role in the G20 together with other countries. And I've said when I initially spoke to President Trump on the phone, I want him to come to South Africa for a state visit, and I also want him to come and participate in the G20. And I want to gladly hand over to President Trump to take the leadership of the G20 forward in November.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What is it going to take to convince you
They don't want to leave.
They like you so
All right, there's President Trump saying you gotta go. You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get up out of here. Man, I love the fact that President Trump called out that radical liberal reporter and said, you're a jerk. I mean, straight up. Straight up. You know what? President Trump showed that video, and the radical leftist media, they want to deflect from it. Oh, go away from that. Talk about the airplane. Talk about the airplane. You're a jerk. He showed it. President Trump is a goat. I mean, really, dude is a goat. And people said it in the comments that we probably will never get another president like Trump again. He's one in a million. 1 in a million. All right, let me tell you about this coffee really quick. It's 1775coffee.com. You can put that in the lower third for me. 1775coffee.com. Y'all need to check this out. It's really, really amazing. It's really amazing. We don't have it. We don't have it at all. All right. 1775 coffee. Do we not have it? Okay, let's bring it up on the screen. 1775coffee.com/studios where you want to go. Right? Right, Shannon?
Yep. Okay. Yep. If you still haven't tried the 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. That's right. Just 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than the CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, mold-free, plus you're also getting this great stuff. Listen to this. A gold scoop clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political views, and a black 1775 tumbler that says, "I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch." That's right. All of this, $170 worth for only $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. So go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. You'll get the bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something. Just like Rumble does, start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe.
Yes, 1775coffee.com/studio. Go check it out. Go check it out. Also, let me say thank you to Stacks and Filter Dog on Peel.net for the gold pills. Thank you so much for those gold pills. I greatly appreciate you. I really do. Thank you so much. And for everyone on YouTube and Rumble, please hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. I really would. All right, everybody. And that is it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know we went over about 30 minutes, but I wanted you to hear what President Trump had to say. The GOAT of all times. He's the greatest of all time. Straight up. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow.